Oh, hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Murdermount Weasel again. So, the recording time is 4 p.m., and Wilson was supposed to be hosting this segment, but today is a big day for him. He told me he's got afternoon plans mixing daiquiris with Ambien, so I'll be filling in for him once more for character design. Here to tell you who they are the moment they walk on screen, character design is all about their silhouettes, their shadows, their hoodie hanging off their body. All of it tells you something about a character's personality. And much like how Wilson designed the perfect cocktail for 4 p.m., let's all recognize the best character designs in this year's nominees.
なんというか、これポイントカード。
いいやつの影。シャシャシャ、チャチャチャラ、シャシャシャ、チャチャチャラ。
めっちゃ煙吹いてるんだけど。
本当だ。
また入れて集まったんじゃない。
春声でかい。
交換しないもん2年前使ってんだよ。なんでそういうところ適当なの。
僕は修二。
私マチュって何よ。とっさにちっちゃい頃のニックネーム露出してない。完璧。
五条若菜、15歳、思春期。彼にとってそれは
おかしいよね。なんででもまだまだ大丈夫。これを入れればパーだから。なんなら実質ホールインワンだし。ここが学校？ここなら静香ちゃんのこともっと知れるはずだっぴ。おーい、おはよう寄生虫。
すみませんが、このままだと風邪をひきますので。前掛けと腰布はやめとくか。
This year's jury selected Milky Subway, the Galactic Limited Express. And the public chose Gachia Kuta.
Oh man, these are some exciting picks, particularly from the jury side. I'm very excited to talk about that. But right off the bat, Mega X, what do you think about these winners?
Not overly surprised with our public choices. Generally, a lot of these are very well loved designs. I mean, especially the fact that 2, 3, and 4 are second seasons of beloved shows. So we've had many chances to appreciate these designs and add in more for season 2.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. And I know that for listeners, this is not a big surprise to them, is that you are, in the West, probably one of the biggest Kyoto animation experts to exist. You are the encyclopedia for all of them. And I noticed that City the Animation had ranked a very strong number 2 right there. And you know, I really love City's designs. I love how it harmonizes throughout the show right there.
Well, the interesting thing with City is it almost feels like the entire show is like a character design, with how everything flowed well together and how Kyoto Animation and how the designer Tamami Tokuyama adapted Keiichi Arai's designs into a form that could be animated. But the other interesting thing is, even though she designed them, and anime character designers, the main job is to make it easier for animators to draw them over and over again, Kyoto Animation actually didn't draw them with pencil. They drew the designs in the entire show with brushes. You get one chance with a brush. You can't erase anything, which is absolutely amazing with the sheer amount of animation that those designs were put with love in for 12 episodes.
I read that this is actually their first show coming in. The character designer, Tokuyama, she just came in and just absolutely killed it right there. And I love that, like, she combined like these noodle looking limbs and it just made them perfect for these cartoony animations that is just abound throughout the show right there. It is a great pick for the jury. But I do want to talk about the jury's number one pick, Milky Subway: The Galactic Limited Express. Now, Kierwaffle, this is a show that has a very limited runtime. It's 40 minutes from what I recall right there. And I was wondering if that had any factor at all for the designs and for y'all ranking it so high.
Yeah, so the show itself is like a really short runtime, but contradictory to that, actually the designs themselves pack so much information in terms of like narrative and how the characters' dynamics work with each other within these designs, that even though the show is only within like a short runtime of 40 minutes, you have the designs themselves that just convey so much information like at a glance basically, and how you can really even dig deeper into them to see even more of the different layers that go into the designs, in terms of how like each of the characters kind of have this blue-red theming going on, since the cast is made up of 3 pairs of 2. So each of the pairs have like a blue-red contrast in terms of the style they have, and how that connects to kind of these traditional motifs of, you know, blue being the more like calm, laid back type of character, while red is typically more aggressive or head first, but also the show would occasionally subvert it with how the characters operate, but then at the same time just kind of like these sort of details kind of really make them pop out and also characterize them, despite the show being such a short runtime.
So it's easily recognizable right there, which is something I wanted to ask both of y'all on this, because let's pretend that I'm an idiot on character design, which is not that far from imagining to be true. Let's say that. What do y'all think is more important in character design for anime? Do you think it's recognizability or realism?
I think there could be definitely a balance between the two. Definitely in terms of character designs for animation, like the major role that, you know, when a show hires a different character designer to do its character designs, the primary goal is to make character sheets that allow the characters to be easily drawn, easily animated by the animators. So sometimes if a show overly hinges on like details and realism, that can kind of be a drawback in terms of really being an easy way for the animators to draw the characters. So this is where kind of like that eye-catching recognizability comes in, where even if the characters are drawn maybe in different ways, or depending on like the intricacies or the unique styles of each individual animator, they can still kind of make the characters really recognizable and still be like look good, despite maybe not having like the overall like high illustrative realism that goes into each drawing. But there are cases in which with like really strong supervision, certain shows can have these really strong drawings that do lean towards being more illustrative and more realism, but it's just kind of like a balancing act.
And to kind of add a little bit more on that, I feel like you have to have something that's recognizable, but it's also interesting you bring up the difference in realism versus recognizability, because the jury number 6 pick and public number 10 pick, Sora Iro Utility, the designer, creator, Kengo Saito, really focused on like making it so that the character designs look like actual golfers, like emphasizing like their lower body legs, because if you look at female golfers, they have a little bit more thicker musculature in their legs than the average woman would. And so those designs really kind of looked more towards realistic qualities. And so you also have to add some ability for recognizability. So maybe different hair colors or different hairstyles to help differentiate between characters. And on the other side, sometimes you want to also make something a little bit more beautiful. You see the character designs for Apothecary Diaries and how the designs work with the colors to really highlight the beautiful nature, especially of Jinshi. And that helps draw people in for wanting to see the show and like, oh, this looks very interesting with him and how a little bit more plain Mao Mao look in all of the key visuals.
That is so interesting. So you're saying that it's a little bit like it's the cover of the book. And we all know not to judge a book by its cover, but it does have some impact. It makes you want to read it.
The phrase poster girl exists for a reason.
So I want to talk a little bit about the public's winner, Gachi Akuta, right there. Now, Kierwaffle, I am a little bit not too close with this show. I don't know much about it, but I do know that there is a character that wears a kaiju onesie in there. Now, do you think that's the reason why it won public?
I mean, kaijus are amazing. Kaijus I love. So, I mean, if the public gives the win because of the kaiju, then absolutely justified. I mean, Dandadan season 2 also has a kaiju, so we love kaijus. So
yeah, I think that it's really interesting show too to win on the public side, because it's one of those things where the character design and the setting are kind of inseparable, because there's a very grimy, rough texture look in there, and it sells that entire vibe. So whenever you watch the show, you're like, okay, let's get down in the dirt, like let's get into this, what with their gas mask and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially even before the show dives into its like major setting of like the underworld, we see even a little bit of the beginning where it's Rudo in his more like the upper layer of the sphere. I forgot what the exact realm is called, and then that also had some really interesting character designs in terms of showing the different hierarchies of maybe like the upper class versus the lower class, and how that kind of actually ties into the show's themes in terms of like the class differences and like kind of like society's trash per se, and then of course you have that transitioning into where the show spends a majority of its runtime in the lower layer world, and how we see a difference in kind of like the outfits worn by the cleaners in there, and how overall it gives a really strong sense of sturdiness in terms of like practicality and how they would act as their roles in cleaners in terms of clearing up like the trash beasts and stuff, and just overall fitting in with a more of a hostile sort of grimy world.
It's interesting you bring up how it's thematically relevant to the show, these designs, because I think that there's one show, in my opinion, that it just speaks volumes on it, and it's intrinsically linked to it, which is My Dress Up Darling season 2. The number 4 pick for both the public and the jury right there. And I think that like it being about cosplay is just an easy layup for it to be successful at character design right there.
You know what's an interesting fact with season 2 that I just found, that was just kind of revealed in an interview in late December? They had over 200 additional character design sheets because of the additional characters and all the outfits added in season 2. That is around 4 times as many as what they had for season 1.
Oh my lord. Is that because there's 3 major cosplay events? So like for each one of those cosplay events, they just had to go ham?
Yeah, you have to have specific designs for the character in every single outfit that they are going to wear in that show. And when you have that many additional characters or main characters, you have to have that many designs for all the animators. So it is a lot of work went into it. And then on top of that, season 2 went in very experimental ways. You had the puppet show. You had so many other aspects come in, and so you have to also keep those designs recognizable even in those different forms.
I also thought what was really interesting about it is that for season 2, there seemed to be a little bit more emphasis on the cast as a whole. So it wasn't just Marin and her cosplaying all of these things. Her schoolmates are all included into there as well. Like you see them whenever she goes up and she dresses up as the hostess, and they're all wearing t-shirts and cheering her on. They're still distinct even in those t-shirts over their uniforms.
And that's coming in from the manga side. Like it really helped expand the entire universe of that show.
All right. Is there anything else that y'all want to talk about?
The only thing that we haven't mentioned is, especially with G-Quat, this adapted a lot of designs from the original UC Gundam, especially Chila Bull. And just seeing the rediscovery of love for him on the Japanese side because of his new, more modern anime design was really fascinating to see.
Yeah, I think I mentioned once that the most remarkable thing that the show did was turning Chalia Bull into a DILF, and I stand by that.
Yeah. The increase of shipping between him and Char was fun to watch.
Well, he's got that jetpack though. Like he's the only one in that show with the jetpack. He comes down, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why he's captain. That's why he earns the big bucks. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Mega X. I think that it's a fundamentally different problem that they're approaching with that show because they're having to keep their original designs. Like it's not like completely original ones like from Sora Iroh Utility where they can just say like, oh, whatever I think of, that's what's gonna be it. I want her to have trendy outfits that match her personality. Boom, bam, it's done. For the Gundam, they have to respect the source material. They have to respect everything about it in retaining that original spirit with it, but then also it's trying to say like, hey, it's literally and figuratively a different universe. So let's play into that. Let's give them a bit of addendums to play with.
And just meshing in the designs that Take originally drew in was fascinating to see in this whole realm together.
All right, and that does it for character design. Thank you so much for coming on, Mega X and Waffle.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
All right, on to the next categories.
From Naoki Amano, Bones. We are very honored to receive an award for character design. Our first big challenge in adapting Gachi Akata was deciding how to recreate the art of the original work. Our character designer, Satoshi Ishino, began by copying the original artwork, and, in dialogue with the original creator Kei Urana, gradually shaped the designs. Sub-character designer Yoshino Matsumoto came alongside, and they were able to imbue the many characters with the same charm and appeal present in the original work. We are very grateful that you have enjoyed these characters. Production on the second core is underway, and we hope you are looking forward to its broadcast. I can say without a doubt that we certainly are, and we appreciate all the hard work.